One was a wood preservative. That was nixed because once someone did the calculations, it's like doing the solar panel calculation I did. It's like there's no way there's enough silver to paint all these what they call them, docks that are in the water around the world with a silver paint that would preserve them. Same thing with superconductivity.
Okay, so on that note, what about substitution that's in the silver market? Because, if you have demand, supply, no real fireworks on the supply side. We have demand that could become much higher. You can either pay a higher price or you can find something else to use. So what role do you think substitution will play in silver moving forward?
That is probably the best question you've asked, and you've asked several good ones. So the reason I titled it the way I did, Silver in 2020, Essential, Critical, and Irreplaceable. The irreplaceable part comes in where you can't substitute silver. Now, that's a bit of I won't say it's a lie, it takes some explanation. So for solar, for example, and I stay on top of this stuff, as you know, Charlotte, it's my job. There was, and I haven't seen any follow through, an article I put out in the Morgan Report in one of my videos I do for my paid members on a test that's been done using copper, claiming that they were getting similar results on their copper-based solar panels to what silver did. And we all know copper is substantially cheaper than silver. And if that is true, more power to them. That's fine. There's not enough silver to power solar panels to give enough electricity to all the houses in America. So how are you going to power the world with solar? You can't. So that's one, but I haven't seen any follow through yet. The basic truth is there's really no substitute for silver in almost all applications. The few places you could substitute would be substituted by gold, platinum, palladium, which all cost more than silver. So it's uneconomic to substitute those. You can substitute aluminum in some cases. I mean, there's aluminum mirrors out there, but they're not nearly as high quality as silver. You could put copper in a smartphone, but the reliability would be so poor that you go out of business. So in almost all applications, substituting silver just doesn't exist. Now, what does happen is what's happened in the PV, the photovoltaic world, solar panels, and that is you continue to use less silver per panel and still get the same result. And that's been done over the last decade. In fact, it's really been cut close to in half. And more power to it. I'm all for what they call thrifting, or getting the most bang for the buck, or making it most economically viable. And that's fine, but I think they're kind of at the end of that now. I don't think they can squeeze it much more. Of course, as I said, if this copper panel works as advertised, then that's a whole different ballpark for the solar industry. And again, I'm following that story closely, haven't seen anything other than this one article. So there's always new uses for silver too. And with the 5G phone, that's going to take more silver. With the solar panels technology that we currently have and the push for more green energy, that's going to push it. Automobiles, just ICE, internal combustion engines, use more silver. Why? Because everyone's got a flat screen on their dashboard somewhere that they've got, backup camera, they've got, playing DVDs or whatever. Uses more silver to have the electronics in your automobile. Not counting what happens in the electric vehicles, which doesn't take as much silver as some purport, but still takes more than an ICE engine or an ICE engine automobile. There's probably a few things out there that we don't know about yet that will demand silver as the only element that is, again, essential and irreplaceable to perform the function required. And there's a few out there, since you asked me, that would have basically dried up the silver. One was a wood preservative. That was nixed because once someone did the calculations, it's like doing the solar panel calculation I did. It's like there's no way there's enough silver to paint all these, what they call them, docks that are in the water around the world with a silver paint that would preserve them. Same thing with superconductivity. I mean, superconductivity is a wonderful thing because you have zero line loss. You don't lose any power from the coal plant or oil plant or solar plant or uranium plant to the main substation and substations after that. In other words, zero line loss. So that's like getting a 30% efficiency increase just by using silver wire. The problem again is there enough silver to put that many wires across the grid? The answer is not really. So there's been things in the industrial side that basically never took place because not the cost. Silver is really undervalued for many reasons, but one of the ideas that it might be good for this or that, which would be truthful, could not be implemented due to the fact that it isn't in that big of an abundance to perform the function as it would be required.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And there's a lot of things for people to keep an eye on there. As we're coming closer to the end here, I want to take you back to the silver squeeze once again, and not to harp on about it, but when we were first talking about it last year, one of the things that you told me was it's great to see the physical buying and people interested, but the paper market was in the driver's seat, and that's why it's a little bit hard to actually see price movement from investor buying of physical silver. And I'm bringing this up just because I know this is something that frustrates people. We get comments about it all the time, and I can only imagine that you do too. So maybe just to kind of conclude with your thoughts there, and if this is something that you see loosening or coming to an end at any point.
I think it will come to an end at some point, and I know people are very frustrated at hearing that, but it has in other commodities. I mean, there used to be an egg market, a milk market, and they really discontinued those due to problems. And it's just what's called a cash market. I mean, there's still eggs and milk in every grocery store or most gas stations. So it'd be the same thing with silver. I'm really surprised with the other white metals, with platinum, palladium. They are such thin markets, such small markets, such tiny markets that having them on the futures exchange is, to me, not a good idea. But palladium has kind of shown us that it works, because palladium's gone from roughly 200 to 2,800 at one time, and now it's in about the $2,400 level. Well, that's about a 12-fold increase, and it has maintained that price above 2,000 for a long time. The answer to the question of how or why is because the physical market really is controlling that price, because it's such a small market and its demand is so high with catalytic converters that there's really not much that can mitigate it. Plus, another factor that most may or may not think about is where's the supply come from? And it comes from a non-New York bank controlled arena, which is the USSR, or Russia, I should say. So those factors all add up to bring you really what I consider to be a fair paper price for palladium. Now in silver, it's a different story because there's so many players. It's, one of the problems with silver is that 70% comes from byproduct production.